Hey, hi everybody. This is Ziya Mohamedjani. I'm with the Madison Company. We're a sales training company, sales consulting. We've been around here for 20 years. And I just went to Dreamforce 13 in San Francisco a couple of days back. I just wanted to share some observations, some reflections that I've had regarding what's happening in the digital world, I would say, and how it affects salespeople. This was, a very, very interesting convention or a trade show. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a great experience, exposed to new ideas, new software. It's always good to see, what's out there in the marketplace. And Dreamforce is, with Salesforce.com or Salesforce, is one of the premier events, I think, of the year. And it's always worth, going and taking a look at it. It was a good party. There was a great tent in the middle of the street. I hear that it was the largest tent in the world. Maybe it's in the record books as the largest tent. Who knows? But there was a lot of commotion, a lot of people, more than last year. And it was a very, very invigorating and refreshing way to spend an afternoon. After 2 days, you're taking a look around all the different areas, the different softwares, the different companies, who's displaying, who isn't. It's interesting to take a look to see where the focus of the business is going, and it's absolutely is digital. And salespeople, we have to get on the bandwagon too. Some of us, people who are older, in my age group, we have a tendency of just looking at the back of an envelope and saying, hey, this is a way to do it. There's a certain amount of truth to that, yet at the same time we do have to change with the times. I was looking at it more from that perspective, to see what's out there, what can help. And looking at Salesforce and also the Dreamforce 13, the displays, the people, and what type of new ideas are coming out. There's a lot of things out there that's going to help the salesperson. There's tremendous amount. I mean, some of the things that I saw, and I just wrote it down very, very casually here. Producing quotes. I mean, I remember the days when I used to have to muddle through the price book and try to work the calculator and work through a lot of lines of numbers. And now a lot of that is automated, so you can get the best quote out there at the quickest time, and all you do is you put the quote in, and then you hit a button, and then it's gone. I mean, how good is that compared to 20, 30 years ago? Other things I saw, file sharing. We're getting into the smartphone, the iPads, laptops, and all sorts of tablets. And what's happening is that we have a lot of information in different parts of our electronic armor, and it doesn't sync up very well a lot of times. But there's a lot of software out there that helps you to get through that. Syncing documents are even more important because, as I said before, you got so many things coming into so many different. I personally get a lot of my information, the quick information, on my smartphone, and then later on, I go through my laptop. If I need to compose something on the run, I use my smartphone. Otherwise, I go back to the office, or in the evenings, I work with my laptop. It works very, very well for me, but everybody has their own style. But sometimes when you can't find the document or an email or something like that, you start panicking. It's usually there. But if it's all synced up, and that's one of the things that caught my attention. The other thing, territory realignment, territory management. I remember the days when I used to have to look at a territory for my sales guys when I was a sales supervisor. And we used to take a look to see, how many calls a day they would make. And, we used to put the pins on the areas, how long the travel time was. Now everything's automated with the GPS, with everything. And it makes life a lot easier as a salesperson to see what type of traffic patterns are available, so that you can use your time more efficiently, or as a sales manager, what's the best way of realigning your salespersons or the people that work for you, your territories. Education, e-learning, man, that's taken off right now. And e-learning material, methodologies. There was one company where the coaching is automated. Whether that's good or bad is a different story, but I think there's value in that. And that's what, that's what we need to really embrace as salespeople and as sales managers. Virtual document signing. Again, you can send it by email so you don't have to go out there carrying this document for signature from the customer. Or, just syncing your phones to the CRM, Salesforce.com, or any of these, the software that you're working on or what platform you're on. So there's a lot of things out there. You got to be careful, you don't oversubscribe to the digital side, so that you're just trying to work through that all the time. But if you choose your battles and you choose your software, I think it's very, very good for salespeople. But at the end of the day, when I'm reflecting on this, one thing I thought about was these are all tools. That's all it is. It's just like the same thing as this is a sales tool. It's a pen, but it's a sales tool. Here's a notebook. It's an old-fashioned way of doing business, but this is a sales tool. Again, here's a smartphone. This is a sales tool. Again, whatever we look at, however we look at the digital world, it's made to make our life a lot more efficient, effective, easier, but at the end of the day, it's a sales tool. And it comes down to how you use it. But the underlying factor about everything, whether it's a brochure or whether it's a pen or paper or an iPad or any of these softwares that that I saw at Dreamforce 13 here, it really comes down to one factor: is who is using it and how are they using it. And salespeople, to use all these materials, these softwares, whether it's analog or digital, you have to have the fundamentals in place, and that's the key, really. These are all tools that you can use once you've established the fundamentals. And but what I mean by fundamentals is, for example, a salesperson needs to target accounts. They need to be able to target accounts. Now, you can do it the old-fashioned way of spreading out, a map of an area, or using one of these new software, and everything will happen very, very quickly. But the bottom line is you need to understand how you can target accounts and why that's important. The other thing, preparing for a call. Salesforce.com is an amazing tool. It's a great, great CRM program. There's others out there, right there, but you can use that as a preparation tool. But once you prepare it, unless you take it into the call, it really doesn't help. It just stays in the car or wherever you or on the computer. So you can have preparation, but you need to know what to prepare and how to prepare. And the other thing is you need to know how to use that preparation that you've done, that you've conducted, so that when you're in front of the customer, at least you're talking as per the preparation that you've done. What are your objectives? What's the call flow? What are the tools that you're going to be using? What are the anticipated objections that you're going to have? And during the call, you need to take some type of notes, memos. I'm kind of old-fashioned, and I like to write it on a diary or a piece of paper or notebook. I've known some salespeople that we've gone out into the field with. They use an iPad for it these days, especially. I think you can probably capture more from a paper-based system, and it's less intimidating for the customer, but it depends on the industry. If you're going to go see doctors, maybe it's just easier to have the customers are doctors. It's easier to have some type of a diary in front of you. But if you're talking to somebody, in the electronics or in the digital world, maybe having a paper in front of them, doesn't really work. It would be better if you have an iPad in there. So again, case by case. But the bottom line is, you need to know that you have to take notes, or that you need to record what is being said, so you don't forget it. Because we're humans. We forget it 5 minutes later. What happened 5 minutes ago? During a call, there's 7 or 8 key items that's discussed. If you don't take notes, after 5 minutes, after 10 minutes after the call, you're only going to remember 4 or 5. I've done this over and over and over with salespeople when I go out into the field. And what I do is I take copious notes. And salespeople who don't take notes, I have them write at the end of the call. I said, okay, you know what? Let's just take 5 and write down the key points. And we've maybe had a 10 or a 15-minute interview. And what happens is, 60 to 70% is captured, but the other 30, 40% is forgotten. And that's a loss of information. Now, you can't record a sales call, so that's you can't do anything like that. But you can take notes, and you can learn how to take notes. But those are basic skills. And then whether you put that on a piece of paper or you put that on Salesforce.com or an iPad, again, that just becomes a tool in itself. Other tools, for example, a salesperson should know how to summarize a call. You got to be able to be in the mode of As soon as the call is done, you need to summarize it. And whether it's going to be on paper or it's again the basics of selling. If you're a sales manager, if you're coaching your salespeople, to develop, you need to understand how the coaching process works. You can't just go in there and say, okay, I think you did this, and this correctly. This, and this needs to get done differently. That's not coaching. That's directionally just telling what to do to whom, as I would do it. If you're going to be coaching, you have to understand the basics of coaching. So there are tools out there that you can learn from, but again, it's really just the tools. And you have to focus in as a salesperson or as a sales manager on understanding the basics and mastering those skills before you can talk about improving the efficiencies of these skills, or how to do more calls per day by using a digital territory realignment or a territory mapping situation. You have to understand the basics. Or as a coach, before using e-learning, you need to understand the fundamentals of coaching and how one-way directional communication is really not coaching. You need to have a dialogue, and the first question you ask is, hey, how do you think you did in this call? You don't just say, as soon as you get out of the call to the subordinate, if you're in a coaching environment, I think you did well in this, this is what you need to improve on, let's talk about it a little bit more. The first thing is you get everybody to open up, your subordinate to open up first. So these are things, but again, coming back to the basic knowledge, how do you really get that basic knowledge? Well, e-learning is one way, working with your peers is another, having your manager coach you is another, but really it starts in the classroom. As old-fashioned as this may sound, a classroom has a tremendous value of disseminating new information and new methodologies. Unfortunately, a lot of training ends up in the classroom and nowhere else. And the major reason for that is because there's no follow-up built into the classroom situation. Classroom training has got a tremendous value, just like reading a book. It's tremendous value. But how do you use it? What do you use once you get that knowledge? And once you get that knowledge, it becomes very, very important to use that knowledge and that skills or the techniques or any of the forms that you've developed within the 2 or 3 day seminar. So you start with the classroom training. To obtain the basic skills, you start with the classroom training. But then there needs to be follow-up. And the follow-up has to come usually from the first line manager. If you're a salesperson, you got to have somebody who's going to help you out. And that person has to be versed in coaching. So again, it's a cascading way of doing, developing your skill sets. But to develop the basic selling skills or develop the basic management or the leadership or the coaching skills for a sales manager, it's important that it starts in the classroom so you understand the theory. And then you progress out into the field and you practice a lot of things in the field. As a salesperson, you practice, and then you also work with your sales managers, preferably once a month, and you focus in on one skill set. And then once you focus in on one skill set, you work over a period of time, you become proficient, then you move to another skill set. You don't just jump around all over the place. So again, you establish the basics by going to a classroom, then working out about it in the field. But the managers, if they're going to be coaching you, they need to be trained as how to be a coach. It's the same process, classroom and in the field. Now, once you become proficient as a salesperson in selling, closing, planning for the call, now you can start talking about using these digital tools. Okay, how's an iPad going to help you in making you go to 4 calls instead of 3? Or how is recording your information in a synced, if your iPad is synced with Salesforce.com, how would it help you to just have that type of an environment so that you input it once, boom, it's right there on your CRM, so you don't have to do it over and over and over. Again, it's efficiency, improvement, the effectiveness. So there's a tremendous value in having these digital components for a salesperson, and really we do have to embrace that, because that's the future, and there's always going to be a change, and there's always going to be a requirement to change, and there's always going to be a requirement by companies to increase sales, be more efficient, etc., and these are fantastic tools to do that. Just like the laptop was many, many years ago, or the cell phone is, or the smartphone is these days. Again, it improves our effectiveness, improves our efficiency, but you must have been grounded in the basics, and the basics really has to, originate from a classroom setting and also from a manager who's going to be able to coach you through so that your skill sets are up to the level where you can take it to the next level by using digital equipment, digital tools. Well, you know, those are some of the things that I've thought about as I'm walking around, and it's a circle. It's really a circle that you know, we're always trying to improve, trying to increase our sales, trying to develop better salespeople as sales managers. But there's a lot of things out there. But once you get the foundations going, that's the start point, and then the fundamentals going, that's the start point, and then after that, what you're really going to have to do is you're going to have to pick and choose what type of you know, software you're going to be using or digital equipment you're going to be using, so you can become a more effective, efficient salesperson and increasing your sales. Anyway, it's nice to talk to you, and hopefully we'll have a few more of these coming up in the very near future. Again, I'm Ziya Mohamedjani with the Madison Company. Thanks a lot for listening.